What's up, Ivy? Welcome to part 2 of the winter video log series. For those of you who don't know, my name is Grace. I'm currently a senior this year and the worship coordinator for Intervarsity. And yeah, so this is my home in sunny Northern California. But actually it's raining outside right now. But that's actually a good thing because we are in a drought, and it needs to rain for about, I think, 40 straight more days in order for it to go away. Alrighty, so before we begin, here's just a little time lapse of some of the things I've been doing over break so far. But anyways, so yeah, like Angela shared in the last video, yeah, the purpose of these videos is, one, for us to let you know that we haven't fallen off the face of the earth, but that we're still alive and we still deeply love and care about all of you. And secondly, and more importantly, is just to encourage you as we're home for the winter, and it becomes a difficult time as we're away from a lot of our friends and community that we have for most of the year. And so, yeah, in Hebrews 3:13, it says, let's encourage one another daily, right? So it's not just something that we do when we feel like it, but daily we should be spurring one another on in love and encouraging one another. So as I was thinking about what to share for this video, a few things came to mind. So I'll just go through them really quickly, and hopefully you enjoy it and are able to take something away from it. First thing I want to talk about is, yeah, how being home is, spiritually very difficult for a lot of us, and including myself. And so I think like a lot of it is just, we're not surrounded with the community that we typically find ourselves in at school, the friends that we can talk about our day, how our day was, or the things that we're learning. Yeah, but I want to say that at home, like, there's still so much opportunity to grow and to live life with Jesus. And I think one of the biggest ways that we can do that is just with our families, right? And so, what would it look like if, the things that we learned at Duke, like, we were able to share that with our families here at home, right? And this is not just like academically or whatever, but it's also very much spiritually, right? Because if you think about it, like, your parents or your siblings and your family, like, these are the people that know you the best. They've seen, all the highs and lows of you growing up, and they know you very well. And so, at college you learn a lot, right? And for a lot of us, we change a good amount, right? Whether that's our attitude or just the way we think, we change by the experiences that we have and the people that we meet. So going back to the point is, like, even if it's not explicitly like saying to your parents like what you've learned or telling them or sharing the gospel with them, I think like one big way that we can share with our families is just even in our actions, right? Like whether that could be like doing chores around the house, or being obedient to your parents, or spending time with siblings, and more so in the attitude in which we do those things, I think is a big way that we can share our growth with our family and just love them well and encourage one of them well. We're not just called to build relationships outside with people that we don't know, but we're also called to strengthen the ones that we have already, and I think family is a big part of that. Yeah, so I just want to encourage you guys to keep that in mind. The Lord has called you back home for a reason, right? Like Matthew and Angela have both said, and part of that, I think, is being able to love our family as well. Alright, so second thing is boredom. So I don't know about a lot of you, but winter break is one of my favorite times because we just finished trials and there's literally no work, no homework, or anything that you have to do, right? And it's really freeing to just be home and kind of relax, right? But at the same time, a lot of us come home and we don't have that much to do, right? And we're a lot of times bored and sitting around the house. And so one thing I've been thinking about is, how do we give God glory in the mundane, right? How do we, honor the Lord when we don't really have that much to do, right? And I think, one thing I've been learning is that honestly, having a relationship with Jesus is not boring. Like Jesus is probably the most exciting man to ever walk the earth, and and just by the fact of us having a relationship with him, like there shouldn't really be anything boring about it, right? But I think at the same time, it's really hard when you don't have that much to do to be able to understand what that looks like. And I think, I think like one thing is just realizing that. It's not necessarily about the situation we find around us, but about our hearts, right? Coming back to just the attitude we have, and I want to say, like, even in something like washing dishes or like reading a book, things that you could be doing at home, like, they can be glorifying to the Lord, right? Because in the way that we, in the way our intentions are in doing those actions, right? And for those of you who might be feeling apathetic in this time, I want to challenge you to seek, how we can honor God in the little things that we do at home, right? And I want to say that, even thinking about Jesus, like, is pleasing to him and like glorifying to him. Those lines. Third thing is, you might be thinking about, what should I do with all this time? And I want to challenge you guys actually. To do some reading. I think like during the school year, we most of us don't have time to do free reading, but I think reading is such an important way to learn and even just a fun thing to do. And so right now I'll just share a couple books that I've been thinking about reading and starting over break. And first one is called Culture of Honor, and this is actually by a pastor from Bethel Church, and kind of talking about how the church started and how it was actually a very, very difficult time as they were seeking to develop this as they were establishing that church. The second book is one called The Heavenly Man, and this is actually an autobiography of a Chinese man who grew up as a poor boy in the countryside, but he encountered the Lord, and through many miracles he was able to share the gospel with a lot of provinces in China. So it doesn't have to be a Christian book. It can even just be, just I don't know, any kind of book you find in the library. I think is just a really great way to spend some of the time for a lot of you if you don't have much to do around. So encourage you to read. All right, and the last thing I want to touch upon is heading into Christmas season. So I don't know for a lot of you, but Christmas is my favorite time of year. I love Christmas season, and a part of it, is just being, the festive activities that we do, the gift giving, but I think, in the midst of that, it's easy to get lost, in the real reason behind Christmas, right? And what is that? And that's a celebration of the birth of Jesus, and even more so for us, it's a celebration of the birth of our Savior, right, who has died to take away our sin, right? This is an act of him coming to earth and becoming a man and being like us in every way, so that he could be the perfect sacrifice for our sins. Because Jesus didn't just like come from heaven and all perfect and just was like, okay, God, like, here, I'll be the sacrifice. But he actually had to be born as a man, and he had to actually be perfected. In Hebrews, it says he had to be perfected through his suffering as a man on earth, and experiencing all the temptations that we have to go through, so that he could understand us when we are tempted. But it's a celebration of that. And so for us, just in this time, to remember that it is a season of joy, right, to celebrate the birth of Jesus, and for us to have an attitude and spirit of joy. And last thing I want to say about Christmas season is that this is also a time for invitation. For a lot of people, if there's a time they're willing to come to church, it's like during Christmas and Easter, right? And so this is a time for us to, invite those people or those friends around us who may not know what it means to have a relationship with Jesus, right? And and maybe not even to church, but just even inviting them into the conversation that, Christmas is, a relationship with Jesus is so much more than just what we learn about in Christmas season, right? But what was the reason that Jesus came to earth? What was the reason that we celebrate this birth of Jesus, right? And be able to have those conversations. And as Intervarsity, right? We, in our vision statement, it says we're a witnessing community, right? And so that's not just when we're at school, but it's also, here when we're at home. And so, I just want to leave you on that note, right? yeah, for us to continue to be a witnessing community. And I really think this is a time where, people are, more willing to be open to the conversation about Jesus and what actually it means to have Christmas, right, and why we have it. So yeah, thanks for listening and watching this video. I hope it was, semi-informative and you enjoyed it. But yeah, have an awesome rest of winter break, and Merry Christmas coming up next week. And yeah, see you guys on the other side back at school. Peace out.